Alright, this is Tim Sheaffer with Sheaffer Design Studios. I'm going to talk you through these three projects I'm working on right now. First project's in 2015. I've got a few commission projects going, and these three are going to be stencils. This first one, beautiful little dogs there. This is going to be for a pit bull rescue. I'm not sure exactly how we're going to use the image. I'm going to create the stencil, and we're going to make t-shirts or posters or something that will go towards the cause. This is the Beastie Boys. So I love these guys. This is a piece that I've been thinking about doing for almost a year now, and over the Christmas break I got a phone call from a good friend slash collector who wants me to do one of these pieces for their spouse. So the Beastie Boys is a recurring theme. I did a Beastie Boys piece a few months or a couple years back, probably 3 years back. And this is the man, Jerry Garcia. And this is for a friend who I also spoke to over the Christmas break. He's also commissioned me to do a painting of a Volkswagen bus, which I'll start this afternoon. Alright, so let me talk you through this. This is three completely different pieces. So I wanted to do them, I wanted them to start off different. I wanted them to feel different from the start. So back to the dogs. So these dogs are, you know, classical photographic, almost Polaroid feel about them. So I did them with oil pastels. Well, I started off with pencil, sketched it in with pencil, then I used a Sharpie to highlight it, and then I colored it in with oil pastels. And then I finished it with a fine tip graffiti paint pen, which just brings out the highlights a bit more for me, easier for me to find the lines for the stencil itself. That ended up being a 6-layer stencil, I think. And the Beastie Boys, I wanted these guys to look almost graffiti-like, so I just did this with 3 colors. It'll be a 4-layer stencil, possibly 5. 5 being like an alternative flip on the background. So this is all done with a broad tip graffiti marker. I wanted it to have that really fast look, that clean Sharpie look, but with a broader tip. And the last one, now Jerry Garcia. This is probably the 3rd time I've done a Jerry Garcia stencil, and dude is really hard to pull off. It's kind of like painting a hairball or a cotton ball. I'm not really sure. Details are hard to find. This one is backlit, so it's really not detail oriented. So just really trying to get the ambience of the guy, really show off his guitar. Mad skills, good guy. Alright, so that is it for the beginning, the preliminary step. Alright, so this is my cutting table. Sorry, it's going to be hard to get a great image off this because I'm trying to shoot shiny reflective plastic. I've been working on these 3 images, well, just the cutting I've been working on for about, this will be almost 24 hours of cutting. So drawing it out, probably a couple hours, at least a couple hours a piece, probably closer to 4 hours on the Beastie Boys. And the dogs probably 3 hours. Jerry was about 2 hours, but Jerry was really kind of a highlighted piece more than it is a detailed piece. So that's a different beast. That said, I'm down to the last panel for Jerry Garcia. It's a 4-layered stencil. And what I've done here is I've cut out, this is what I call the black layer. This is going to be layer number 1 for the back, to create the body of the work. It also can be a piece that I can mess around with the background, but then it also becomes, in this case, the last piece where I can overlay the Jerry Garcia image, the outline, over the other 4 layers of paint, and then paint the black to pop the details out. It's a crazy puzzle, stencils, because all three images that I'm working with, I had to take a not completely different, but I had to take a different approach to the way the layers were going to be. So for instance, in the Beastie Boys piece, that the first layer is a solid black, the second layer is the background, and the third layer is some details on the inside of the background. I know it sounds like a crazy puzzle, but I think that's why I really like this process. It really makes me think about, and even when I'm doing paintings now, I have the same ideas going through my head. It's really important to have really well-defined shapes for a stencil, and I think it's the same for painting, although sometimes those shapes are just brush strokes, but I still feel like they're really important. But really what this really teaches me is how the positive and the negative space work against and with each other. So it gives me a real strong tool of creating work that has more depth, better composition, and I'm really, because this process lets me do the same image over and over again with different colors, it really lets me experiment in my paintings, my actual brushwork paintings. It really gave me the freedom to kind of play around with colors a lot more. Excuse me. So that's, I'm gonna cut this quick square out here so you can kind of see how long this takes. This is kind of a larger piece yet, but I'm gonna cut out a section of it so that you can kind of get the detail. I'm on my maybe 5th blade for this. It's important to have that sharp. You start to wear out your fingertips if you're pushing too hard. So, and I just try to follow this line, but try to kind of clean it up at the same time. There's a lot of finding your mistakes and improving on them in this process. You're not stuck to a finished goal just because you put the marker down in the wrong spot. You can always fix that later. And I'm thinking about, in these 3 particular pieces, of not just leaving the finished piece as the stencil and maybe coming in with a paint pen or a brush or a Sharpie or even the oil pastels, which I really, really love working with, and kind of popping some detail and some texture from playing around with the oil pastels or the markers. When I worked on the Buddha mural, I used a lot of paint pen because it's really easy to use in public. I was doing an outdoor event, and it was really easy for me to pull out a paint pen and not have to clean a brush or anything like that. Although I did end up pulling out my brushes to finish that piece off, but the paint pens got me there real quick. And it has that graffiti feel, you know. I really enjoy that texture you get from the graffiti feel. And that's what it's really become about for me lately, is trying to find not just the depth from the image and the choice of colors and the composition, but now I'm trying to experiment with the texture of the medium. So for example, I saw this great video on Facebook, and it was a Coke can. No, it wasn't a Coke can, but it was a wine bottle or something, maybe a champagne bottle, I can't recall. But it was a time-lapse video of somebody drawing out this beautiful bottle, and they used every kind of pen and pencil imaginable, and the depth of that piece was just amazing. So I've been kind of running that through my brain for the last, probably over a year, maybe a year and a half, and playing around with that idea of how I can introduce that mixed media kind of feel to my work. So you can see this is going to be a big chunk. I'm going to cut all the way around this. This will allow me I can either use the pieces that I cut out, because I'll cut out one big section and then I have this section over here, to get a solid background, or I can start with a solid black background or a solid dark color background and use this to color in the highlights, or the background, excuse me. Does that make sense? I don't know. Anyways, I'm just going to cut for just a second longer, and then we'll go on to the next video, which is going to be the test video. I'm going to test this out on paper so I can get a clue of how the layers fit together, and then I can kind of manipulate the layers as I spray them. So there's a few tricks when you get down to spray painting. It's not just one solid color. You have options. You really can shade a bit with it by taking two different colors and spraying them at the same time. You can do soft highlights. For instance, the detail on this arm here, yeah, it's supposed to be black, but it's not going to be solid black because it would look like a big hole in his arm. So I'm going to hit this hard with a solid black on the frets for the guitar, but I just want a soft, quick spray over this highlight so that it looks more like a shadow that's cast from the guitar rather than a solid hole in the arm. Alright, so that's all I got for now, but I will record the painting process for you for this video, and my son Liam is going to be the editor, so hopefully I'll have this in about a week or so we'll be done with this video. Alright, thanks. Alright, so this is the last layer on the last stencil. I'm going to do duplicates tomorrow, but it's just been a battle today because I have to do this outside and there's a cold front coming in, so it's really windy. But we're getting it done, and what I've done is, this is the last layer. It's going to be white. I use the nuts and washers to hold the Duralar in place, which hasn't really, I haven't really succeeded at that much today because I've had a couple blow off on me. So I got a little bit of overspray on a couple of them, but they look good. Alright, so I'm going to work my way around the picture. I usually work right to left. Test spray. And I'm just trying to get all these colors in there. All these shapes need to be filled in. See what the wind just keeps bouncing it around on me. Alright. And I don't care that there's little gray spots in it sometimes. It gives it a little more depth. On the last piece that I just finished of the Jerry Garcia, I actually made some funky background colors by just using three colors in one layer, and got a nice little overspray going on. It's kind of a fun little effect. But you kind of play around with it at this level too. I've been experimenting with just whatever color I choose for whatever layer on different projects. Alright, so I let it dry for just a little bit. It's a quick drying paint, but I don't want to smear it, so I'm going to let it dry for just a second. And since the wind is blowing from the right to left, I'm going to remove these last. I'm just going to hold it down over here so that the wind doesn't take it. As you can see, it wants to. There we go. That's the fun of working outside, if you want to call it fun. I got a panel that just fell behind me. Whew. Alright. And I usually try to just to peel it up so that I don't get overspray. That's it. Final project. Thanks for checking it out. I'm going to post all the images on my website, sheafferdesign.com, and share and comment and whatever you need to do. Thanks. Have a great day.